you. Welcome to May in Bloom. I am May and I talk about holistic living, I talk about holistic healing, and also all things creativity or making. And I share a bit of my life here, as well as things that can hopefully help you also to live more holistic lives where you feel like you are living intentionally instead of life happening to you, that you are happening to your life. Anyway, today's subject, it's more inspired by my whole concept on Bloom Baby Bloom, or even May in Bloom. On Bloom Baby Bloom, what I always hope to do is to encourage people to also learn that, okay, you are a specific kind of plant, and the more you understand yourself, the more you'll be able to grow as a human being. And the more you invest in getting to know yourself, the more you'll be able to navigate through your life in a way that is present, in a way that is responsive instead of reactive. So I'd like to start a little series dedicated around that, for us to get a moment, sit down, drink some tea. Today I'm drinking water. I put some apple cider in here, and I try to every now and then do something that is just giving me a little bit of a health maintenance, as I call it, so that you're always in health mood rather than catching up with your health. You're trying to maintain it, right? So I'm drinking some apple cider vinegar, which is also, and I always drink it with a straw. Because you don't want it to be, it's not good for your teeth basically. Anyway, so let's get into today's video. I wanted to talk about how to manage negative thinking, or thoughts in your head that are actually more destructive than they are constructive. I like that better than negative and positive, because I think if you guys have watched my other channel called Abantume, I talked about the bad thing about good vibes only. And I don't believe that all feelings you should have and feelings you shouldn't have. All feelings are actually there just to help you check in with yourself if you are intentional with how you observe your feelings. And to deny certain emotions and welcome others is actually no way to separate yourself from your full self. And here, because we encourage holistic living, it's important that I make that clear that for me it is important to acknowledge all your emotions, the good and the bad, and to see them as guides for you to know and to navigate through what you're feeling and where you are currently. In that sense, when I talk about negative thinking, or as I say, distractive thinking or constructive thinking, it's a great opportunity for us to learn about our shadow selves and our light self, right? I want to talk about this because the other day I was talking to my mom, and we were talking about how when you're in a moment where you're trying to create something transformational in your life, and how you find yourself sometimes being pulled back by negative patterns or negative ways of thinking about yourself, and negative actions that lead you to sabotage where you're trying to get in life. And all of those things are important to be aware of, because when you can stand still and say, okay, I'm doing that to sabotage myself, or I'm doing this so that I encourage the fear I feel about this new thing, rather than encouraging the faith that I'm trying to build around it. So for me, this year is about two big words for me, which is faith and patience. But also, again, my Magic 3.0 project, which is still running, even though I'm not talking as much about it. It's basically me trying to live up to my biggest potential by realizing the things I'm actually good at and harnessing them and nurturing them so that they can bloom, help me bloom into my truest self. But in order for me to do that, growth is a process, and growth isn't always comfortable, but that's why we sometimes call it growing pains, right? So when it comes back to your way of thinking and your mental state, when you've decided to change, it can be maybe the way you eat, it can be like living behind negative patterns in relationships, it can be just living behind your negative self-image or the way you see yourself, what you think is possible for you, trying to go from a survival mindset to a thriving mindset. It can be just you trying to explore new ways of living your life. Anything where you decide, okay, I'm ready to transition into a new way of seeing my life, or a new way of existing in my life, a new way of having relationships, a new way of eating, or even caring for my body, you will experience some, some pushback, some pullback even, because of the things that you've done to that point that have kept you where you are. So every time, like I just talked about maintaining health instead of like trying to be healthy when you get sick, it's the same way mentally. So often you're either maintaining a destructive mindset, or you're maintaining a constructive, thriving based, faith-based mindset. So you are constantly, through different choices or different thoughts that you entertain in your head, choosing between the two. And I like to live in the place called something I heard that I really resonate with, like an imperfect balance, which basically means that I'm constantly trying to balance those two things, and I do not expect myself to be perfect at either. But to be aware in itself is setting yourself up for more constructive ways of handling your life than not being aware at all, right? So practices you can do for that part, that first part of being aware, is basically, of course, mindfulness, which you can practice through meditation. And meditation, like I always say, it's not just you sitting in a room and being quiet. If you resonate with that, do that. But it can also be as simple as you going for a walk, you know, and maybe you listen to a podcast, but maybe you don't, and you just go for a walk and it's just you in nature with your thoughts. And I actually think that we don't have a lot of quiet time in our life anymore. There's always something happening. People are not around me. Maybe I'm listening to music, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm watching a movie in the background, I'm watching a video in the background. Often we might find there's very few moments in which we are actually present and just listening to ourselves, right? So there's this other form of meditation that I like to practice. It's literally going to my council of advisors. I think I've talked about this before, or in some of my holistic living and healing coaching sessions, I do talk about how you can literally, instead of meditating, you sit with yourself and you go in front of this, almost your higher self. Or if you prefer, if you have some ancestors that you are connected to, ancestors that you are aware of, like for me, it's my grandfather on my mother's side, and also my other ancestors that I'm aware are loving towards me and want to support me. And my grandpa, of course, I experienced life with him, so I know that he was somebody who was very caring and loving and wise, and he genuinely loved me. So when I think about meditating in that sense, I go towards this and I'm surrounded by my higher self and also these people that love me, and I sit in front of them and I go within myself and I can say stuff like, okay, I'm feeling doubt about where I'm going in life. Even though I have all this passion and desire, sometimes I don't know if I can do it. And I want to understand how I can best move through that while holding space for where I am currently. And then I sit and listen, you know, and then I ask myself, what am I afraid of, okay? Or I ask myself, what would it feel like if I trusted? Because it will take me as much energy to trust and to not trust and have fear or doubt. And if I choose trust, what would that feel like and where would it lead me, you know? And sometimes it might be like, am I being delusional or unrealistic by not paying attention to these things? Or is it just my fear and self-sabotaging talking? So there's all these things that I take to my councils of advisors, like my council of people who love me and people who are in the other realms. It's a part of my own spirituality that I'm adapting and always growing into. And so when these thoughts are heavy on my head and I can sense them, one thing that's also important is let things be. Like, don't over resist. That's why I don't advocate the whole that's negative, don't think about it. But don't over resist what you're naturally feeling. It's okay. So for example, let's say you're feeling something like anger. You know, you're very angry, but you feel like you don't have to be that angry, but you're just very angry, right? So one thing you could do, and you're having very angry focused emotions, you go within, or you pay attention to how you're feeling instead of over engaging with it. So okay, you're like, oh wow, May, you talk to yourself, right? That's why working on your inner voices is very important. Are you your friend or your enemy? Are you adding, adding gasoline to a fire, or are you coming with water and cooling it down? You have to build that relationship with yourself through the dialogues you have with yourself daily. Okay, so when you're angry and you feel it and you're feeling, oh, this pisses me off, and then you're just like, oh, okay, like be that loving mother, you know, that present mother. Even if you didn't have that, you can practice that yourself. So I'm like, okay, I can see you feel very angry, don't you? And I'm like, yes, I feel very angry. And then I'm like, and you also feel, because another part of me is like, I feel angry, but I don't feel like I should feel this angry. But you also feel conflicted about how angry you are. I'm like, yes, I do feel conflicted about how angry I am. And then I also ask myself, have you been through this emotion before? And I'm like, oh, okay, yes, I've been here before. And then, okay, this is going to be a passing moment. What can I do right now that can help you feel better? And then it can be anything from maybe go for a walk, journal. It can be anything of like, okay, just sit in it and have a moment for it and be like, okay, why are you angry? Tell me everything that's pissing you off right now. So you sit with it and you're like, that pisses me off, and why did that person say that? And if they say that and they knew how I felt about that, why would... So I just like put it out. But be careful that you don't start talking to the level of now you are suddenly really invested in it because you're coming up with all these good points of being angry, right? And also, this is also not in every situation. There are some situations when you're angry, you're justified being angry, and you're justified to show that you're angry. I don't believe that you're supposed to be a pleasant little flower all the time. No, that's bullshit. Sometimes you are angry and you have every right to show that I'm displeased, I do not like this, and I need to sort of a firm, assertive statement about what I feel about the situation so it does not continue. But other times you know that you're just either being emotional, you're just reacting, or you're tired, or you didn't sleep enough, or you are sabotaging something by over-investing in this emotion, because then it will take you from what you're actually supposed to be feeling. And sometimes emotions are not even the real reason. The emotion you're currently feeling, or the feeling or the thought you're currently having, is rooted in something else. Like, for example, let's talk about jealousy and envy, which are emotions that are very rooted in the scarcity mindset. And now I'm not talking about romantic jealousy in that sense, but like more like of life jealousy, where you might feel like, oh, I would like to be somewhere like that in my life with your peers, people who are doing the same things as you, where you're like, oh, why doesn't that happen for me? Why don't I, you know, like, and then suddenly you realize that you are sorry, and then suddenly you realize that you're really engaging in these emotions. So another thing that you can do when that comes up for you is basically, okay, I'm jealous, or like I don't like that because I feel like I also would like to experience that. Why am I not experiencing that, you know? And then that's a great opportunity for you to actually sit with yourself, you know? You might be jealous about something or someone, right? What I've actually started practicing is when I have that thought and I'm like, oh, this is such a heavy negative thought or distractive thought, I'm like, wait a minute, this is teaching me something. I'm like, okay. So I almost take what I'm jealous of or envious of and say, thank you. What can I learn from this? Okay, number one, I'm realizing that I would like to go to a place in life where I can have more of that, you know? If it's financial freedom, or if it's like right now, like for example, I really want to have a home. Like that's something that's really big for me. I'm just in that, like I'm excited about having my own space with my own door tag and everything, me and my partner, like just a little home, and I can say welcome to my home. So I'm really excited about that phase in my life, but there's a lot of things that have to happen before that can happen, and I know it's going to happen. But so if I go somewhere, I'm like, oh, I like your home, this is a nice home, I want to have a home, you know? So you can feel like jealousy, you can feel like envious, why don't I have a home right now, you know? But actually you know why you don't have a home. Maybe it wasn't a priority before, maybe you made other decisions that give you other things that you're grateful to have experienced, and therefore you don't have it right now, but it doesn't mean you're never gonna have it, right? So when you have somebody who invokes that emotion in you, or something that invokes that emotion in you, it's an opportunity to be like, okay, let's sit down, I want to talk about this, like what is really happening? Do I think that maybe if A has that, I can't have that? It's not true. That's scarcity thinking, because it's enough for everybody. I always like to take the analogies of trees, and I say, why does a tree have so many leaves, you know? Because nature, by nature, is abundant, and you are a child of nature. You are allowed to also live an abundant life. Now, I'm not confusing abundance with consumerism, because that's also something you have to balance within yourself. Is it just that I want a lot of things because I feel like they're going to fulfill a need? But I talk abundance as in there's enough for your dreams as well. There's enough for you to also live a life that is inspiring to you, that is encouraging to you, where you feel like, okay, mama, I made it. I love my life. I love where I am, you know? So there's enough for everybody to have that experience, and you should never feel like, okay, if somebody else has it, I can't have it. Cheer them on, because they are in your perimeters, which means that you are closer to that goal than you could have been if you were somewhere else where everybody in your environment is also having a shitty experience. That's not going to motivate you anyway. It's nice to be in an experience where other people around you are actually succeeding in life. It's almost like a game with nature. Imagine you're a garden and you're a plant. When you see around that other people are thriving, That means you're in fertile soil. Maybe you haven't bloomed yet, but your time will come. You're surrounded by fertile soil, right? Instead of actually wishing that, oh, I wish your plant was withering, because I feel like my plant is withering, you know? You don't want to be surrounded by withering or dying plants. You want to be surrounded by thriving, growing plants. They're going to help you grow as well, right? Because that encourages you in the environment. It means the ground is fertile. It means you can plant more things. It means everything will grow, but maybe some things will take more time than others, and your time is coming too. So there's a lot of things that can happen to you that you think, oh my God, this is triggering such negative mindset, negative thoughts, and I don't want to be in this space. But if you take time, number one, to meditate and have good conversations with yourself, or if you're like me and you have a council of advisors and therapists that you connect with as a spiritual practice, or just using that opportunity to be like, okay, great, I feel this. What can I learn from this? How can I grow through this? You know, don't just go through it, grow through it, you know? Okay, so basically that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Your negative thoughts or your distractive thoughts are not necessarily bad. Be careful in labeling them as bad and trying to just, I'm not gonna notice you, I'm just gonna push you in the corner and go on with my life. No. Make an effort to sit with them, to learn with them, because everything that happens to you is also happening for you if you choose to have that perspective. It doesn't mean that everything is going to be peachy, but it means that you're going to get out on the other side with stronger foundation as a person, with more fulfilling experiences of life, because that's what makes you who you are, how you go through things, not what happens to you, but how you go through the things that happen to you, the good and the bad, right? So when your thoughts come and you feel like they're overwhelming you, try to have that perspective, either that they're working for you, either what kind of conversation can I have with myself to go through this productively and constructively and lovingly, or it can also be just for you to check in with yourself. Am I taking care of myself? Do you have a self-care and self-maintenance journey, you know, to make sure that you stay present, you stay hopeful, you stay intentional with where you're heading in life? For example, like I talked about in my other video where I talked about my vision board, that's another way, a reminder of where am I going? How do I keep on this track? And that will help you in moments where you're feeling despair and you're like, oh, I don't see anything. What am I doing? Remember, you have a vision, you have a plan, you have a goal, you are heading somewhere, and keep doing things that bring you closer to that. Keep thinking in ways that bring you closer to where you want to go, not where you don't want to go, you know, because either way, you are using your resources. Anyway guys, that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope this has been of benefit, and please, 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 I like to create a community here where we encourage each other to grow, we encourage each other to share experiences. So you'll also live your experiences with negative thinking and how you handle it, what you're maybe struggling with currently that you feel like you might need help with. Otherwise, I really am enjoying this journey. I'm excited about what's coming on this channel and also in my life in general, and I look forward to sharing it with you guys because I'm really putting my beliefs on a bigger practice, if that makes sense, and growing into them. And I know that the more I grow into them, the more I can also use them to help you guys as well. They can hopefully also inspire you guys, because you know that they're not just philosophy, but they're actually working and they're bearing fruit. So basically that's it. I hope you're blooming wherever you are, and I hope that you're living an intentional life that is of benefit to you and those around you. And obviously I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.
Oh, I beg you, can I